Hello, Alicia Yusuf here, astrologer, counsellor, and all around Scorpio deep diver. And I'm here bringing you the higher insights to help you live more consciously. So, big lunar eclipse coming up this week. And for those who have followed me across from Instagram, great to have you here. And for those that are new, welcome to the community. I hope that you find this helpful and insightful for the fortnight ahead. So we're looking at the astrology of the 13th of November until the 27th of November. And there's a lot going on. We have still all these planets in Scorpio traveling through, making tense aspects to planets in Taurus and Aquarius. So it's really heavy territory for Tauruses, Leos, Scorpions, and Aquarians in the week ahead. Of course, the new eclipse cycle starting this week too, with that lunar eclipse in Taurus. So listen on as I discuss all that's going on in the next 2 weeks. So just before I get too far in, I am Australian, as you can probably hear from the accent, and I am in Brisbane. So please note that the timings I am giving are for Brisbane. If you're anywhere else on the east coast of Australia, please add an hour for daylight savings to the timings I use. And if you're anywhere else in the world, you'll just need to readjust your timings for that. But most of the time it's within a day anyway. So just to be aware. Okay, so here we are, Saturday the 13th of November, and one of the important parts of this day is the beautiful connection between the Sun in Scorpio to Neptune here in Pisces. And this is where the Sun reaches that calm, cool oasis after the harsh territory it's been traveling through between the square to Saturn on the opposition to Uranus over the last few weeks. So we get a chance to dip our toes in the pool and just sit back and relax. So make it a day for imagining, for daydreaming, perhaps meditating or contemplating higher truths, or just chilling out. Head to the beach or head to a lake or a river, anywhere where there's water. Neptune loves to be. It's also a perfect day for dancing or for music or just letting the emotions flow. Now, the next day on Sunday, we head into a little bit more volatile energy as Mercury here at 13 degrees. Well, it'll be 13 degrees now, but before that, it happens at 1:56 a.m. So Mercury in Scorpio will oppose Uranus in Taurus. So this is mental cogs will be really spinning today. And because it's happening so early in the morning, for Australia, you might find it's a night of restless sleep. So do all the things you can to calm the nervous system and to just chill out before you go to bed that night. But you may find lots of dreams happening, lots of thoughts happening. And later on, it might be just a sense of high, exciting insights dropping in or new ideas towards living life more freely. Or it may even be just surprising thoughts of what is possible for you, ways that you haven't perceived the world around you before. We're also really gearing up for the eclipse that is going to happen across this Taurus Scorpio axis. So I do feel like this is getting us ready for the unpredictable and sometimes volatile energy that is across this axis at the moment. Now, a few days later, the next main aspect is the Sun here in Scorpio coming to square Jupiter in Aquarius. Now, I really love this energy. This is emboldening, encouraging, and just a general feeling of uplift. I do get the sense that these two signs together often have very strong standards and moral codes. So there is a sense of really standing up for what you believe in. It's a square, so there is some tension. So I don't think it's all going to be ease or flow. If an opportunity comes up that day, you'll have to do the work to get towards it or to make it work for you. But with the Scorpio's courage and resilience, you'll be able to really push for what you believe in and follow your own heart on this day. So enjoy that. Now, it is the next day that we have the next transit. Got two interesting transits happening this day. First off, we have the Sun in Scorpio again, and it is making a sextile to Pluto here in Capricorn. So sextiles are not as big and not as strong as the other aspects, but they're definitely there. Generally, it's a cross between a square and a trine. So it's with a little bit of effort can go a long way. And this is an opportunity to excavate, to uncover, to really see what's hidden beneath the surface. So if there's a deeper conversation you need to have and you need some strength to do it, or some belief in the courage of your convictions, bringing those across from the day before, this is when you have the conversations that you need to have. So this is at 7:01 a.m. in Brisbane. Now, later in that day, as you can see here, the moon just at 29 degrees of Aries. So at 12:17 p.m., it will shift across into Taurus. And that is big, because that is where this next lunar eclipse happens. So we'll be generally feeling the energy from that lunchtime on Wednesday here in Australia. That'll be later in the evening in Europe, very late, or even early in the morning, sorry, in Europe, and later in the evening in the Americas. So it's ready to play with a lot of things as it goes through. But first off, what will happen is early the next morning, we do have the opposition between Mars and Uranus here. And this is a very volatile, quite unpredictable. I always like the phrase fire and fireworks factory with the two of these, because it's getting closer and closer to the degrees of this eclipse too. And it's bringing in the energy of the new moon. I get a feeling that there will be some kind of test of what did you create under the new moon almost 2 weeks ago, and where have you not been doing enough work, or where could you be bringing a bit more of a jackhammer to things to create the freedom, the authenticity, and the energy of no limitations is really what this craves. After the Mars's face-off with Saturn last Wednesday, it may be that you've really reached breaking point. And I just keep thinking of the Queen song, I want to break free. And in it, they're talking about freedom from the lies of what's happening. And I do feel this is where Mars in Scorpio has had enough and is just like, I've done my hard yards. It's time for me to reap the rewards of this, which is not having to listen to other people's truths and only following my own. So hopefully after that Sun square to Jupiter last week, all of us are feeling more emboldened to follow the best choices for ourselves. And again, it is following up with those upcoming echoes of the eclipses. And now, the moon here, it squares Saturn at 4:19 a.m., 12:44 p.m. It conjuncts Uranus, and then it will oppose Mars not long after at 1:20 p.m. So the moon in Taurus is usually very grounded, very earthy, very sensual, quite calm, but definitely not in the near future anyway, with Uranus still in this area and then the eclipses moving into. So next up, we are moving into the eclipse. So as you can see here, it is happening at 6:57 p.m. in Australia. And for us here, it will be, as the moon rises, it will be mid-eclipse. So this is going to be the longest partial lunar eclipse since the 15th century. It's going to last over 6 hours, which is great because a lot of the world will get to see at least part of it. The only areas that will miss out are Middle East, Africa, parts of Western Asia, and also parts of Eastern Europe. But I'll put a link in the show notes below that are talking about to timeanddate.com. They've got an excellent animation on there, so it can tell you exactly what you'll be seeing of this lunar eclipse. It is called partial, but it'll just be the tiniest bit of the sun that we're able to see past the moon's surface that we're able to see. I think the Earth is blocking out like 98% of this eclipse, so it will be a pretty spectacular one. So what does it mean for us here? And this is the first of the series of eclipses that will happen in Taurus and Scorpio right up until 2023, late 2023. So we are getting ready for the shift from the mental energy that we've been hungry for in Gemini, seeking for the truth, seeking the facts. Now it's shifting into the grounded energy of Taurus. So there is this sense of now we're hungry for resources. We're hungry for tangible wealth, land, property, cash, those kinds of things, and also material gains. And I really hope it's around self-value too, although we can go a little bit too far of wherever the North Node is sitting. So as you can see in this chart, we do have the North Node still at 1 degree of Gemini right here. The moon, by the time the eclipse happens, they'll both be at 27 degrees. So there is still this kind of handover phase with this, and there is still a little bit of the mental energy and buzz. But 18th, 19th of January, when the nodes switch signs and move into Taurus and Scorpio, is when we'll really feel the strongest energy of this. On the opposite side, the South Node, this is where we're emptying out. So as the sun comes up close to that South Node during this eclipse, it'll give us a sense of, okay, we've been emptying out our beliefs. We've been emptying out our opinions, all those ways that we expand our horizon. You think about the fact that we've not been able to travel easily internationally, and reach foreign places, which is something that Sagittarius really likes to do. But now that shift is going towards the power and control dynamic that Scorpio likes to have. So we may be purging and purifying here. I think, the South Node is excellent in Scorpio. In some Vedic astrology circles, it's seen as where it is uplifted or exalted is in Scorpio. And so there's a sense, because where the South Node is, it's where it pumps energy out or releases or lets go. So we'll be emptying out this cycle around potentially drama and crisis, where we're really pulled into survival mode, one of the shadow sides of Scorpio. Also, perhaps overcommitment. Scorpio is such a loyal sign, and it really sticks with those that they trust, but it can mean that Scorpios overcommit to things. So this is potentially something else that will be let go of. So thinking about any Scorpionic themes, and especially as this changes houses, if you follow whole sign houses, this will be changing houses too, where this energy is being applied to. And if you'd like to know more, I've done a full webinar about this. So the link to that is also in the show notes if you want to go online and register for that. Some of the other things that I do believe that this eclipse is going to be the messenger towards in this coming eclipse cycle is around stillness and serenity, and how we access that. Just that hunger to be quiet, to be with our body and in our 5 senses, rather than in the mental crazy that Gemini can often take us into. And also around food and farming and women's issues too. These are all linked to Taurus as well. So in general, it's definitely not a day to be doing any full moon rituals. And there's another thing about this full moon eclipse, this lunar eclipse, is that by the time the moon gets here, it's conjunct the fixed star of Algol. Now, Algol is seen as one of the more malefic stars, and I think this is partially because it's misunderstood. Algol is linked to the myth of Medusa. Now, Medusa is the Gorgon. Everyone knows snakes in the hair turns to stone if you look in the Gorgon's eyes. And Medusa ended up having her head cut off by Perseus, and then put on Perseus's shield. And yet, it's an interesting myth, because what it actually does, it talks to the dark feminine and the power that lies in that place. And many feminists believe about this fixed star about this myth that's linked to this fixed star, is it's actually about when the patriarchy took over from the matriarchy. Some tales say that she well, she was a acolyte or a temple priestess for Athena, the goddess Athena, before she turned into the Gorgon. So she wasn't always the Gorgon. And some say that she had a love affair with Poseidon, Neptune. Others believe that she was raped. But whatever happened, she incurred the wrath of Athena. She was blamed for what happened. She was supposed to keep herself pure. So she was thrown out of the temple and turned into the monster Medusa. So the idea then is that we need to, under this, reclaim that dark goddess energy, that really deep, intuitive side, the raw feminine power that this mythology is linked to. So this eclipse, I think, is potentially around feminine topics and feminine issues of reclaiming power. We've seen so much of it in the news in the last, since Uranus has been in Taurus. And I think this eclipse season series is going to add to that. Here in Australia, and just Grace Tam, Brittany Higgins, but also even Britney Spears herself is reclaiming her power as well. So there are these strong women who have been held down and in the media portrayed, finally getting back their power. So it'd be interesting to see how this particular eclipse, what it brings up around reclaiming. So if you know much about mythology, think about Kali, think about Lilith, think about Persephone, all these mythological figures who went to dark places or lived in dark places and are about facing the truth and going through death and rebirth cycles to come into this. So really interesting about this eclipse. So continuing on from here, after the eclipse, we do have on the 20th, just that breath of fresh air from here, as pretty quickly after the eclipse, actually, the moon moves into Gemini. So it's only about 5.5 hours after the eclipse that we get that relief. We are in eclipse season now, however, because there's another eclipse on the 4th of December. So this is what other astrologers such as Austin Coppock call the Bardo period. And it is where time feels elastic. You're not quite sure which day of the week it is. You're not quite sure if you're coming or going. So, small things seem big and big things seem small. So just be aware that that kind of a eclipse tunnel or portal can still be a very potent time for an unsettling time. But if you can let yourself be on the edge of uncertainty, if you can find settlement in not knowing, it'll really serve you, because we are in liminal times, full stop. We have been for a while, but this is really ramping up in these few months. So just be aware that all is well. We're heading towards the right future, but we just have to be settled in the unknown, because we think we know so much. Our world around us tells us we do, until times like now happen. So beyond this moon in Gemini day, we have a very Mercury day coming up. For now, Mercury is first off squaring against Jupiter. So again, big picture ideas on this day, getting a sense of what is it, for these final weeks, really, as Jupiter is in Aquarius. It will move out of Aquarius on the 28th of December. So we don't have that much long left. What do you need to do with Jupiter in this area of your chart? And this is a day to really think about it, dwell on it, try to make the most of it, and with the big picture planning here. And then not long after, Mercury will come in and it will sextile to Pluto as well. So this is scrutinizing, probing, delving deeper, really getting into that Mercury and Scorpio energy that wants to lift the carpet on everything and peer in and see what's underneath. Or it's great for also reading between the lines as well. Now, we start to get the uplift the next day as the sun in Scorpio, you can see here, it's right on the cusp of doing it. It will move into Sagittarius. And This is a day of expansion, of hope, and just a general breath of fresh air after the deep intensity and tension that Scorpio season has held. I always see the fire of Sagittarius as that fire of inspiration, the idea of bringing the spirit within. And it will quickly run into the South Node. That is going to happen on Wednesday, the 24th. So it is a sense of trying to understand what we're letting go, what we're releasing, what we're simplifying, the last of these eclipses. So that is the day that we're, really hits that kind of midway point between eclipses. But in general, just lean into the generosity, the enthusiasm, the adventure and freedom seeking nature of Sagittarius as other planets start to come up and join it. And it's only one day more until Mercury moves in here too. Now, Mercury's not that comfortable in Sagittarius, mostly because Mercury is so busy about the facts and the logic and the small details, where Sagittarius is all about throwing that stuff to the wind, taking leaps of faith, following your heart, and just seeking new adventures. So it's always an interesting time with Mercury in Sag. It is generally around the bigger truth above the smaller details. And so it's great for philosophical conversations. It's great for expanding the mind with higher education or just higher dwelling as well, really seeking the truth in far-flung places, which can be here on the planet physically, it can be mentally, or it can be spiritually as well. So it is where we turn our mind to those things that inspire us, but fuel us with higher knowledge and higher understanding. But just know it's not great for detailed planning. So if you do have any detailed planning to do between now and the 25th of November, get it done while Mercury is still in Scorpio. It's much better energy for that. But it is wonderful for party season, getting into the Christmas spirit, or, whatever holiday season that you celebrate at this period of time, there's a number, and just that hopeful, optimistic feeling as well. Now, on the 26th, on that Friday, we do have Mercury conjunct the South Node. It's very early in the morning as well. So this again gives us a last glimpse into what do I need to let go of? What am I purging out of my life with the final of these eclipses, and how can I get ready for that? And then there'll be more about the solar eclipse in my next update. So wishing you all the best for this 2 weeks ahead. And I hope that you find eclipse season lightning. One thing I will notice with the eclipses, what we'll note is, don't do your normal full moon rituals under this. You don't want to try to manifest or bring anything in. It's all about purging, purifying, and releasing. So think salt baths, think ocean swims, think spring cleaning your house. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, I do have that webinar that has some specific rituals that you can try under this time as well. So wishing you much luck and success in the fortnight ahead.